Welcome back to my podcast. Today I have a guest that I am just so excited to have on, and I know you're going to love that she's on as well, and her name is Briana, and her Instagram, you may have heard of her, is Bikini Body Mommy. And I first learned about Briana because I believe a post you tagged me in on Take Back Postpartum, right?
Yes.
That's right. And I reshared it, and it was like your post was super, it just resonated with so many people.
Yeah, it went kind of viral, which was amazing.
It did. And then we connected on my Instagram just recently. We kind of were both like, how are we not connected here? And we connected there, and I'm so glad that we have. So for those listening that are not familiar with you or your story or platform, can you share a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So, Briana Christine, I am the founder of Bikini Body Mommy, which is a body positive, size inclusive movement of women, a global community of women that is based around health and fitness in all areas of life, not just working out and your nutrition, but also in large part your mindset. And I founded this community 8 years ago after my life had fallen apart, and the internet, or at least Instagram and Facebook, was relatively new in terms of online communities. And I was the first one newly postpartum with my third child at the time, who was a certified personal trainer, but had gained about 80 pounds in my pregnancy, and was determined to show women that bikini bodies came in all different shapes and sizes, but show people that process to embrace who you are postpartum, but also work on becoming the best version of you. And at the time, I ended up losing 100 pounds. So a lot of people associated my brand immediately with weight loss, even though there was so much more to the platform. I started putting out absolutely free 90-day challenges on YouTube. I now have I have 9 90-day challenges for free on YouTube for people to follow. And so it always blows people away. They're like, wait, is there a catch? What do you mean it's free? It's like, no, like go to YouTube every day. There's 9 different 90-day workouts for you to follow. And in the last 8 years, the platform has grown to millions of women around the world. And the most beautiful thing about Bikini Body Mommy is that in rebuilding my life and establishing this platform, and remarrying, and then now we have 3 more babies. It's given people the opportunity to kind of follow my journey and see that life is not linear for anyone, whether it's with your body or with the things that you pursue or with a platform that's, publicly available online. You see the evolution of one person's journey, and through that comes a lot of empowerment.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned how it's not linear. Because I have 6 kids, and I'm like, my body has been every possible size almost. From a size 10 to a 26, like my breasts have been, oh my gosh, I have worn, I don't even know how many different bra sizes. And we get so caught up in wanting to look a certain way or feel a certain way. And like, that's it. We just need to stay right there. And that's just not how life works.
That's not how and so I'm pregnant right now with my 6th.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you. So exciting. And I love that because I'm somebody who gained so much weight in pregnancy, that it's given people the opportunity, by putting myself out there, by being vulnerable, and kind of not just showing my body when, I'm in fantastic stereotypical, fitness shape, but also when, I've got 100 pounds to lose, showing people that you can still be beautiful and be confident and be empowered and inspire people with the way that you embrace your body and your journey, regardless of what you weigh or what size you are, or what bra size you're wearing. So I'm the same way. I get really top heavy.
I love that. Whenever I see your photos, I just really connect with your photos and just your body, and I love it. And I love recently you shared a photo of your baby bump, and you were like, okay, I have to angle myself this way and do this and pose like that, and then I can look like I have this perfect baby bump, but really this is what it looks like normally. And I loved that.
Otherwise I have the flat tire going for the lower abdominal area, because I feel like just I mean, as much as society has grown over the last couple of years and really helped women see that there are different body types out there and that they're all beautiful, there's still these situations like pregnancy where, I mean, it's for a lot of women, it's such an insecure time of trying to figure out who you are and what your body, the beauty in that experience. This is my 6th go around, so I feel like I'm there now, but you don't really see a lot of pregnant bellies that aren't that perfect basketball belly. And like, how do you embrace that? And how do you, show other women like, oh my gosh, your body is normal too. Like mine looks like this right now. And it is what it is. Like, we're creating life, and that's amazing.
Yeah, I love that. Or like the bee belly. I know Plus Mommy talks about that, where like the belly, like, it's not just completely round. Like we have extra shape going on. Okay.
Yeah, exactly right.
I love it. So I know that something you really wanted to touch on today was women empowerment. I know that's a big part of your message, and I want to know, though, what that means to you specifically.
Oh, it's such a good question, because I feel like it can empowerment embodies so many different things, right? For me, women's empowerment is really giving women the opportunity without keyword permission to embrace who they are right now in the present moment. I don't know about you, but I feel like, especially now having a global community of so many women around the world who check in with me on a daily basis, I feel like so many of us were raised to feel like we had to fit into particular boxes, whether those boxes were formed from our parents or from our childhood, or now as adults through society. And just breaking free of that box and realizing, no, you are a strong, valued, beautiful person, regardless of what you look like, regardless of what you've chosen to do with your life, whether that's chosen to stay home and raise your family or chosen to pursue an education or a career. There is so much value in our differences and just being uniquely you, and you don't need permission to look a certain way or be a certain way in order to embody that.
Ooh, you are firing me up. You are speaking my language right now.
Yes. Just living, being unapologetic and who you are.
Yes. I have You Do You Boo tattooed on my arm. I don't know if you've seen it, but
I haven't seen it.
No, I don't. It'll be backwards, but it's right there, upside down. So it's pretty big. Yeah,
Yes, I'm reminded. I have seen it. Okay.
I feel very strongly, and people are like, well, what about this? And what about you being vegan? I'm like, look, I take You Do You Boo very, very seriously. Like, when I was in my 20s, I would have judged you. I'm 41. I've been humbled many, many times now. Now I just support you.
Yeah. That gives me a flashback when my first exposure to you was actually in 2016 when I was pregnant with baby number 4.
Okay.
And it was going to be my second home birth. And I felt like I was having to justify to my community and try to break the stereotypes surrounding home birth and how people were saying it was so unsafe and how I could do this, that, and the other. And I came across your quote about the baby deer. I don't care where you give birth. Yes. Like, I support you. Just, I want to make sure that you're informed. And that's, I feel like so much of my life over the last couple of years has been about that. I'm not, this is the most judgment-free zone.
Yeah.
If you're in the community, I am not judging you for the way you look or what your choices are. I just want you to know that you have choices, and I want you to make informed decisions, not because that's what you're told you should do, but because you choose that for yourself.
Right.
And we're going to be having our 4th home birth now with this baby, if I stay low risk. And I always, I go back to that quote because it embodied everything that it was one of those quotes that really struck me to my core about what I stood for, So thank you for that content.
You're welcome. I actually said that on stage at a conference I put on in Austin, Texas, when I was 32, 33 weeks pregnant with my 6th. And it just kind of came out of my mouth. And then I was like, that was good. I need to put that on an image and share that on social media. And I did. And I laugh about it now because I tell Brandon, I'm like, when I die, that's the quote I'm going to be remembered for. That's going to be the one. Just put a baby deer on my headstone because That's the one. But I love that you brought up like not having to tick off certain boxes or be a certain way. And essentially what you're doing for women is you're helping them break the shame cycle, right? Like you have to speak this way to be loved. You have to dress this way to be respected. You have to, do it all to, not be questioned on how you're doing it. And then you try to do everything this way and you get judged, and you try to do everything that way and you get judged. And it's like this shame cycle that we are literally born into just by being women in this patriarchal society. And what you're doing is saying, hey, let's break that shame cycle by not clicking off these boxes, by not needing permission to be who we are. And I think that is so, so powerful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So what about, as you're going through this, breaking cycles and breaking shame and owning who you are, owning your story, what does that look like and what does that feel like to you?
So my entire life have felt like I've had to face tremendous adversity. Mm-hmm. And I know everybody has a different story and there's beauty in that. But my life since I was a child was not an easy one. I was born into a family with alcoholic parents. I experienced sexual abuse as a child. I had a mother who was raging alcoholic, very codependent on men, was married 3 times, and just showed me that, and as the eldest child of 3, made me basically a parentified child. I was put in the position very early in life of having to raise my 2 younger siblings. And so it's so funny now to stand with who I am and look back on some of the decisions that I made early in life, because as I was going through those experiences, I said, I am never having children because I never want them to experience my childhood. I never want to, in my head back then, it was breaking the cycle was not having children because I never wanted them to have the childhood or the lack of childhood that I had. And then when I was 16, she basically had chosen another man over her children. And I made the decision that at 16, I couldn't be in that house anymore. And so I ran away and I ended up staying with some extended family members. And then I met my first husband, who was this good Christian man with this family who lived in the same house his entire life. And I thought, and he loved me. And he was 10 years older. And I thought, oh my gosh, here's this love and this family that I've never experienced before. This is it. So I clung onto him like you wouldn't believe. And we ended up, I met him when I was 16. He was 10 years older. We got married a week after my 18th birthday. And he wanted to start a family right away. And I thought, well, I will do anything to keep this love. And so we had 2 babies within 15 months.
Wow.
I didn't get married because I was pregnant, but that came shortly after. And my sole identity as a teenager and early adult was my marriage in this family. And I had no concept, and I didn't feel like I had permission to explore who I was and what actually made me happy. And so when I hit like 28, as a lot of women do, you hit this growth spurt and you kind of figure out who you are. And I thought, you know what, there was a reason he met and married a 16-year-old, and I had definitely outgrown that relationship. We still are friends to this day, but there's not a day that I look back and I go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad, I'm glad I didn't leave that relationship when I did.
Right.
So I left that relationship feeling like I had, as a parentified child, had all of this life experience, but really having none, because my only experience was this one man and being a wife and a mom.
Right.
And so I had to figure that out. I was 28 or 29 and figuring out who I was as a person for the first time. And I was a single mom for 4 years. I was a certified personal trainer running my own business. And 4 years into being a single mom, I ended up getting pregnant and had no idea what the biological father's role would be in that. I actually almost had an abortion, and I got to the clinic and saw the baby on the ultrasound, and I couldn't follow through with that. And I had no answers. I didn't know how. I was struggling. I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment, and there were months where I was choosing, do I put keep the lights on or food on the table for my 2 existing kids? How am I going to do a newborn and be self-employed and all of
Yeah.
And so over the course of my pregnancy, my life fell apart and it unraveled, and literally I bottomed out and ended up giving physical custody of my older two children to my ex-husband, and had to make some really hard life decisions about how I was going to rebuild my life, to rebuild the security and safety of my home. And just, again, realizing that in the 4 years I hadn't really done anything except for attract the people and the negativity to my life that kind of had surrounded my mother. And I was kind of manifesting her life in that 4-year period of time. And so in that bottom out, in that low period, I had a chance to really take a hard look at who I was and what was most important to me and what I deserved. And that's a really hard place to be in, is when you don't value yourself or know who you are, to try to figure out what you want and what makes you happy and who you want to be. And you don't come from a place of confidence or having those life skills. It's a really challenging thing to discover. But I feel like that low part of my life and having nothing and rebuilding it from scratch ultimately helped me become the person. It gave me that fresh start that a lot of people don't get, and helped me start this amazing brand, Bikini Body Mommy, and attract the kind of positivity into my life that helped me become who I am today.
That is incredible. It's incredible. I say all the time how we're allowed to grow, we're allowed to change, we're allowed to transform. And I believe all those things, but we also live in a society that doesn't want to allow each other to do that. And I think that's a big part of what you're saying, is owning your story of, look, I'm not going to let you shame me. I'm not going to let you tell me I can't learn from this, that I can't do better, be better, change, transform, shed my old skin and become new, like unbecoming to becoming again and again and again. And I think that's like the most powerful part about owning your story. And isn't that what we connect to the most anyways, is when people share those parts of their stories, because we're like, oh, we're not the only ones. I mean,
absolutely. And that's exactly where the power is.
Yes.
In sharing your story is the solidarity that comes from knowing you are not alone.
Yes.
You are not alone. No matter how alone you feel in that moment, there is somebody else in the world who isn't living your experience, but is living a parallel experience, who can sympathize and be empathetic and understand you in a way that you need.
Yes.
And I love that.
Yeah, and they need as well. And that's why using our voice and sharing our stories is so important. Like, just you sharing your story right now, there are so many pieces of you that I see in pieces of me. Like, there's so many similarities in a lot of our story that I would never have known if we weren't talking today and you hadn't shared with me. And it's just like, oh my goodness, like I feel like I just connect and know her even better now. I love it. I love owning our stories and owning them ongoing. You know, one of the things on my platform, me sharing, people will ask, like, how do you know what to say? How do you know what we need to hear? And I'm like, because I needed to hear it. I was processing my own stuff, doing my own healing. And I'm like, okay, if I needed to realize this or I needed to hear this, somebody else might too. So really my Instagram is just an ongoing of sharing my journey and story and growth. You know, as I go through it, it's like a live update. You know, as
and I don't know
that.
about you, but it's oftentimes I find it's the posts that you write or the images that you take that are, you second guess the most whether you should put, the scariest to put out publicly. Those are the ones that the world needs the most. I mean, I can't even think of an image where I was like afraid to post it that wasn't exactly what I should have been posting in that moment.
Yeah.
Because people need that type of content. They don't need the fluff and the perfection. They need the real and the raw.
They don't need the perfect aesthetics.
No.
No, that's not what any of us need. I mean, it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. But it's like, I can't relate to that.
Don't make me show you my one pack right now.
Yeah. It's so true. Oh my goodness. So how do you feel we can use our experiences and our trauma and our hardships to move forward and as an advantage in our growth?
So I think one of the biggest life skills that I hope that I'm developing in my own children, that through my trauma, through my experiences growing up that shaped me, is tenacity. I feel like if there is any skill in life that we as human beings could use and need more of, it's tenacity. It's having the ability to realize that life is made up of failures. It's not about your successes. And that if you have the courage, maybe you don't even have the answers in the moment, but if you have the courage to stand back up after you've fallen and figure out your way and realize that's not the end of you. That is not the end of your story. That's just something that you've tried that showed you that you're not supposed to go down that path. You're supposed to go a different way.
Yes.
And having the tenacity to keep going, you're going to ultimately become somebody who you want to be and who is going to inspire and empower other people to do the same.
Oh, I love that. I'll share a little story with you. When I was postpartum with my 5th baby. And during our pregnancy with our 5th, a lot of people know this, but we were homeless. And we moved 4 times that pregnancy, mostly with friends, into like motels. It was a really, really hard time. And I found us a 2-bedroom apartment right before I gave birth to him so that I wouldn't be birthing in a motel. And on like a special, it was, really cheap to move in. And after I had him, it was like this situation where my husband was graduated, he was a chiropractor, and I had now 5 little kids. I think they were like 7 and under. And we were just broke and struggling. And Brandon came home from his overnight valet job one day, and before he had to go into the office to see a few patients because he had just started that. And I was like, I need to go for a drive. And so I left him with the kids and I went to Jack in the Box and got 2 tacos for $1 and went and parked in the car and just like sobbed, like just crying, eating these tacos. And that's a shame in itself. Like no one should be crying over why they're eating tacos, right?
Especially Jack in the Box tacos,
right?
Right?
And I'm just like crying and sobbing. And I called my grandmother because I'm a motherless mother myself, and I called my grandmother, and my grandmother and I hadn't really connected in motherhood either. And this is the moment we did, because I called her and I was just sobbing, and she's like, "Are the kids safe? Are you okay?" And I was like, yes. She's like, "Okay, what's going on?" And I was just like, "Nanny, I cannot do this anymore. Like, I have 5 kids and a husband who need me and want me. I don't know how I'm going to pay our basic bills. Like, I just can't do this anymore." And I'm like in this grueling postpartum depression, in this really tough situation. And I'm just like sobbing and saying, "I cannot do this. I cannot do this." And she opened up and shared, I'm going to get emotional, but she finally opened up and shared about what her postpartums were like. And this was, of course, 50 to 60 years ago, with way less support than even we have. And we are like, this isn't enough, right? So way less. And she shared with me what her postpartums were like and how she got through them. And she said, January, what you're going to do now is you're going to pick yourself up and you're going to dust yourself off and you're going to go home for your babies because you're a mother. And that's what we do as mothers. And that's it. Like so many times in our motherhood journeys, especially in our postpartum journeys and, our lives as women, there's so many situations where we find ourselves like, I just don't know that I can keep going through this, but you can, and you do, and you find a way and you get back up and you keep moving forward in your story.
Yeah. Well, that's so powerful. And it's, again, just hearing that, a piece of my bottoming out was, having this newborn, my 3rd child, and giving up the physical custody of my older 2 children so that I could go rebuild my life in North Carolina, where my parents, who I had been emancipated from since I was 16, had offered me shelter and an opportunity to rebuild my life. I get back there and realize that, there's still alcoholics, and I can't do this. So I had a friend at the time pay for a motel room for me and my newborn baby. And I'm sitting in the motel room thinking, I don't even have somebody to watch my baby. I'm on food stamps now with the government just to be able to get diapers and eat canned tuna out of a can and rice packets.
Yeah. What
am I going to do? I don't even have a penny to my name. I have no life back in California to go back to. And this job opportunity came up in Canada where they were going to sponsor my immigration if I got the job. And so I took a chance. I didn't think about what would happen if that job didn't work out. I just got myself to Canada, where this friend let me stay with his family, and the job didn't happen. And a series of events happened that were just absolutely like, how could I be this stupid? How could I be this naive? Now what am I going to do? I don't have any family or life to go back to. And now I'm in a worse position because I'm in a country that I don't have a work permit. And
Right.
and so out of that brokenness, out of that despair, came somehow the tenacity, because I had this baby who I was the only thing in the world that he had. Yeah. And that was what kept me going. That was my light. That was he has nothing in this world but me. And I have to figure this out. And so I took my skill set as a personal trainer and I moved it to an online platform, and I figured out how I could do it online without breaking the law in Canada. Right. and rebuilt my life. And amazing. I did it in a year, got my two older children back with me, and and life carried on. But it was, if I had not had that experience, right. if I had not bottomed out, none of this would have happened for me. I wouldn't have my current husband. I wouldn't have our babies. Like, I wouldn't have the life that I have now. So it's amazing. And helping women and sharing your story, not the positive, oh, I'm married and I have 6 kids and life is great, but when life wasn't great, this is what it looked like, and this is how I survived that, helps somebody else who's in a situation right now where they're like, I don't know how I'm going to pay my electric bill this month.
Yeah. That is just so powerful. I mean, some of the best ideas I've had, or just an opportunity that I've created or has come my way, has been during a really hard time. And I think that's a really, really great thing to point out, especially right now, because so many people are finding themselves globally in that position of, I don't know what I'm going to do. But some of the greatest ideas and the greatest opportunities happen when your back is against the wall, when you're just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And you have to literally go deep in your brain. You're like, the creativity is there, and it's like you have to start unlocking more than you've ever unlocked before, and can come up with some of the most amazing things when your back is in the corner.
Yeah, it's true. It's scary. You're not going to have the answers, but that's absolutely when you become your best self, is in those moments that are testing you.
I agree. I completely agree. I've experienced that a lot myself, and I've always said that I wouldn't take away any of my trauma, any of my hardships, any of my negative experiences, because they have just made me such a more humble, compassionate, strong human being. And I have to remind myself that as a parent too of children, because we want to save our children from everything. And we are breaking cycles, and we are giving them a better life than maybe we had. But we also, get to kind of step back and let them make some of their own mistakes and learn. And then they have a place to land where there's unconditional love. Whereas, you and I did not have that. So that's beautiful. Okay, I'm going to shift us a little bit in this conversation about something that has been on my mind, because, and I've asked this question once before on my Instagram, and I asked a friend about it who is really big in the body positivity space, and she did an IGTV about her response, which was super fascinating. But I feel like now we have the call out of diet culture, which I think needs to be called out for sure, especially for us women, but for everyone. And then, we have the body positive space. But what about the space in between, which is really where you're at? You're navigating that space in between diet culture and body positivity. And I would just really love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So it's such a tricky area, because people are like, well, either you accept yourself and you love your body as it is, or you must hate your body if you're trying to lose weight or become a better version of you, or anything that has to do with changing your nutrition or your health, or aspects of the way that you look. And my position is that body positivity is recognizing that you are beautiful exactly as you are right now, and to live in your skin unapologetically for who you are now. But you can also recognize that body positivity empowers you to recognize that you are allowed to also change and evolve and become a better you. And that doesn't mean that you have to shrink yourself, quite literally shrink yourself and weigh less or be a smaller version of yourself in order to have more value in this world. But you are allowed to set goals for yourself that encourage you to become a better person. And whether that's, in setting a goal to maybe run your first 5K. I like non-scale victories personally, because I feel like they challenge you in different ways, and they take the focus off of the thing that doesn't really matter ultimately the most. But taking the shift, doing non-scale victories, and recognizing that body positivity also embraces people who are looking to change their bodies as well.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out that body positivity is a beautiful movement. I wish I had it in high school, really bad. I would have loved to have seen a woman any size in a bikini or a bathing suit. I would have loved to see your Instagram when I was in high school.
I know. I wish I had my Instagram when I was in high school.
That's what people tell me. People are like, "Oh, I wish I had birth without fear." I'm like, "Me too. I wish I had it too." When I was going through all that, but body positivity really does start as a social justice movement. And so I think it's okay to kind of separate that, to acknowledge and respect the fact that it really actually is a social justice movement. But when it comes to our individual love of self, that you are allowed to love yourself. Really, I mean, self-love and body positivity is about not being a jerk to yourself. Right? Don't be such an asshat to yourself. Be waking up in the morning, and the first thing you do when you look in the mirror is you look in the mirror and you're just criticizing yourself, and I break out, my skin's not perfect, I should be eating better, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, and my boobs are saggy, and my tummy, my pregnant belly doesn't look and it's just criticizing yourself and comparing yourself. And body positivity and self-love are saying, wait, hold on. Can we pause and change that audio track in your head, because it's not helping you? And instead of being a jerk to yourself, can you be a friend to yourself? And then if you want to move into a space of, hey, I want to go on more walks. I want to be able to breathe easier when I go up the stairs. I want to be able to fit in an airplane seat better. I want to be able to go on the rides with my kids when I take them to Universal Studios or Harry Potter Land or whatever. That's not succumbing to diet culture either. It doesn't have to be all or nothing or one or the other. And that it's a hard conversation to navigate.
It's a hard conversation to navigate. And what I encourage people to do is, just like your tattoo, you do you. You get to decide what's healthy for you. You get to decide those boundaries and those parameters of what you're going after. But I always encourage people not to start that journey, regardless of what it is, out of self-hatred. You should be starting that journey out of a place of appreciation and love, because it makes the process so much more rewarding and fulfilling when you ultimately achieve your goal. And I find that there used to be this stigma around people who were like, oh, I love myself, and I might be overweight, but I love myself. And it's oh, well, you're just lazy and comfortable. That stigma is less and less these days. I'm finding overall that you don't have to give excuses for not wanting to change. And at the same time, I feel like we shouldn't shame people who have aspirations to also do the opposite. As long as that process again is started out of a place of love, I think is where it's at.
Yeah, if we could just stop shaming each other for any reason, that'd be great. If there's one takeaway from this episode, stop shaming each other, because
and stop shaming yourself.
And that's where it begins, right there. Yep, that's where it begins.
Yeah, one of the most empowering processes that I have found in my own life is almost outing myself. Because when you out yourself, you strip away the power of somebody who doesn't know you to do it to you or, for you. You can't shame somebody who's already said, I'm feeling shame about this, and this is why I'm making this decision to change. You can't, because you just come across as an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually when somebody kind of comes at me, I'm just think, who made you feel less than? Who made you feel shameful for being in your skin? Or who made you feel like your voice didn't matter? Because that's usually what's going on, and so many of us live that. And you just, especially if you're in a female body, you just cannot win. It's if you love yourself, but you're my size, it's like, oh, like you said, oh, you're being lazy, or, oh, aren't you vegan? Why are you fat? And it's like, because veganism is on a diet, Karen. Like it's, it's a way of.
I shared your post about like, because candy and alcohol is still vegan.
Oh yeah.
That's another topic. I shared that like a year ago.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
I could not have written that.
Yeah.
I could not have changed a single word and had it been more empowering than it was. And again, that was another one of your posts that in my community, people just are like, you go, girl.
I love that, you know, and sometimes I think I did another one too. It was like, sometimes it's all raw vegan and sometimes it's Oreos and Coke Zero or whatever, you know, I mean, like life is unpredictable and up and down and all around. So yeah, that's so funny. I did share that. Oh my goodness. Now I'd have to replace the alcohol with something because I've been sober 2 years, but
I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, again, kind of going back to that shame cycle, and that was part of my shame cycle. So to be able to move out of that space has been amazing. But yeah, like I was saying,
I'm scared to like move out of that space, but then to also talk about it publicly. Yeah. Because that's one of those things, like you can move out of it and be really empowered in your position and the decisions that you made, but then to talk about something that is so shame provoking in your own life publicly and open that door to people ridiculing you or having questions and stuff about you. I mean, that has to be really tough. And I love that you put your voice into it.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you. It's been interesting. Anytime I do post about it, there's always got to be at least one or two people that try to put me down or take my voice away or make a joke about alcohol. And it's like, that's not cute. That's not funny. Like, you're on a sober person's page and they're sharing that they've been sober for 2 years and you're like, yeah, but wine tastes good. And it's like, well, you know what? Shame and losing your family doesn't taste good. So shut up. You know, like, I don't know it tastes good. Hello. I was drinking a lot of it. Yeah. I already know that, you know, and
listen here, Karen.
Yeah. And, you know, I recently, and I haven't shared this yet, but I recently made a firmer boundary about this. Like, I have zero tolerance now because, so I've been sober for 2 years and I had never gone to any meetings, but I started feeling like a month or two ago that I needed a little more support because, you know, I still think about it all the time. And then all this kind of happened and the self-isolation, all this stuff. And I was like, gosh, I need solidarity. And so I did an online meeting and there was no judgment in this space. There was no right or wrong way. And it was beautiful and wonderful and validating. And it made me realize that no one has the right to try to judge my sobriety story or to try to shame me for when I share it. So I'm going to have zero tolerance moving forward when I do share about this, because like you said, to speak up about something and then someone criticize you, it's like, no, like you actually don't get to do that in my house. Like, you don't get to come into my house.
Gosh, that you're just taking the words out of my mouth. That's exactly what I say to people. Because, you know, setting boundaries in an online space is so tricky because people feel like they genuinely know you. And that's a gift to have that type of connection with people. But they don't realize that you're a human being with feelings and that this is your space. Like, yes, you might have a public page, but I say, you know, I'm public, my door is open, but would you walk into my house if my door was open and disrespect me or shame me or say some of the things that are said because you're online?
Right.
No, if you did, I would kick you out of my house. And this community, Bikini Body Mommy, it's a global community and it's one that I have built by hand, every nail, every board.
Right.
This is my house.
Right.
And you will respect me and my community. I don't stand for it whatsoever. So I am a huge fan of blocking and deleting negativity, but I feel like I've been really lucky lately in the last year and a half to not really have to do that very much because people just of get it.
Same here. Yeah. I think that when you build the space and use your voice and kind of have those boundaries with yourself and everyone else, that people pick up on that. And I've experienced the same as well. I haven't had, and maybe I'm less dramatic, so I've had less drama. I don't know. Like, you know, we've grown up in these spaces now. I mean, it's been 10 years. I started Birth Out Fear 10 years ago. So 10 years, you know, I change every year. So it's been a decade. So, you know, I'm always going to be in a completely different space. So yeah, that's really, really interesting. But what I was saying before is you can't win either way. Whether you're plus size, people will put you down. If you're, you know, in a thin body, people tell you that you need to eat. It's always, you need to eat a hamburger. I don't know why that is. Like, why can't Susan be like, you need to eat some French fries and oranges? You know, like, why is it always a hamburger? I don't understand that. But, you know, the whole, you need to eat a hamburger. And if you're fit, if you're in the fitness industry, especially a fit mom, oh my gosh, I think they get it the worst, actually, you know? And so I kind of feel like, back to that whole you do you, because you know you're not going to get the approval of everyone, so you have to keep bringing it back to your center, which is yourself. Your approval, you know, matters the most. Not even your partner, yours. Like your approval of your body and your approval of your mental health and where you're at in your space and how you're living your life. And when you're living like that authentically for yourself, people pick up on that energy. They pick up on it. We were looking at a photo of me yesterday. Me and the kids, we found a photo when Briana and I were first together like 20 something years ago. And my oldest, my 16-year-old was like, Mom, why do you look like a grandmother in this picture? Because the way my hair was and my outfit and my glasses. And I was like, you know what? I look younger and happier now at 41 than I did at 21 because I've changed how I think about myself. And so I move around in my dresses, no bra, go to the grocery store in my whatever size I am. I don't even know what size I am actually, like 1X, 20, 22. I don't even know. And I feel how I wished I had felt when I was a size 14 and thought I was fat and ugly. And I feel that way now. Like I move around in my body, whatever size it is, because I've changed what's going on up in my head, not necessarily because my body has changed. My body will change. It has changed over the years nonstop, you know? And when we're going through puberty and postpartum and all these bodily changes and the messages we're getting are, you need to bounce back and you need to do this and you need to do that, it just doesn't serve us. So stepping away from that and back into ourselves and changing that inner dialogue for ourselves, like that's where the real self-love takes place, right? Like you're saying, it doesn't start with the weights in your family room or at the gym. It starts when you look in the mirror and the conversation you're having with yourself, right?
Exactly. Before you even change a single thing that you're putting in your mouth or your body, you look at yourself. And I don't think enough of us do that. And that's such a powerful first step, is to look at yourself and truly see who you are, and not from a place of shame, but from a place of understanding and love.
Yeah. You know? I mean, if I walked by the bathroom and saw one of my daughters looking in the mirror or my sons and saying things that I used to say to myself, I'd be devastated. But we don't think that we need to change how we're talking to ourselves, as if we don't deserve that tenderness and that love and that compassion and understanding. And that's where I want everyone listening to start, right? To start with, imagine when you get up in the morning or you go to the bathroom and you pass by the mirror, you're in the car sitting at a red light and you start realizing you're talking negative to yourself. Step back in your mind and imagine you basically, like you said, parenting yourself, right? Like reparenting yourself. And you're walking by a bathroom, looking at an image of your younger self, talking that way. What would you want to say to her? Like, how would you want to hold space for her? And do that now, because you deserve that now.
Yeah. I actually encourage my community. I have a VIP membership, like an inner circle group of, instead of just millions of women around the world, it's just a couple hundred women in a very small group. And so we do every week these mindset masteries. And one of the mindset masteries that I've done recently was asking them to find a picture of themselves as a little girl. And I want them to hold that picture of them as a little girl. And what are the things that you would tell her? And it's a really emotional experience for most people, because you realize how horrible you are to yourself and the things that you say, and that you would never say that to one of your children or to that little girl in that picture. And so how do we have the self-awareness to not do that as adults, since it's a learned behavior at this point? How do you unlearn that do differently, choose differently, and having that self-awareness.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I think it's funny that you're like, our small group of a couple hundred people.
I know it doesn't, but it's amazing how it truly feels like this very intimate group.
Yeah. That's cool.
And I mean, I can't even say enough positive things about it, because for all of the communities that exist right now on the internet, that you see mom shaming and you see women just being really nasty and catty to each other, we don't have any of that.
Oh, that's because it trickles down from you, though. That's how my events were, and that's because it trickles down from the person that is holding space in that platform. So that's because of you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I definitely, I think your vibe attracts your tribe. I don't know who said that originally, but it's so true that, there's not a day that goes by where if I run into somebody, not right now with the pandemic, but if I run into somebody at the grocery store and they stop me and they're like, I just have to tell you how much you've changed my life, that I don't meet them and I feel like we could be friends in real life. Like, I just feel like I've attracted that energy, the type of energy that I deserve in my life. And it's taken a long time to get to this point, but I'm really grateful for that. And I feel like I want to teach women how to do that for themselves.
Yeah. I love that. Absolutely. All right. Is there anything, if people have one takeaway from this, what would you want that to be?
Oh my gosh.
I know, I put you on the spot.
Takeaways.
If there's one main thing that you want someone thinking about after they listen to this podcast,
I think it would be a question. And the question would be, not what do you want, but what do you deserve? Because I feel like what do you deserve gets people thinking differently. It's not what can I afford, or what do I have, or what do I don't have. It's what do you deserve? And if you apply that to every area of your life, your relationships, starting with the relationship with yourself, what do you deserve? Your relationship with your significant other, or the person that you're hoping to attract into your life, the relationship with your children, your boss, or your extended family. What do you deserve for a career? What do you, it's such a powerful question, because it gets your wheels turning and it makes you feel empowered in just saying what so many people are afraid to, which is, I deserve fill in the blank. I deserve to be happy. I deserve to love myself. Because I feel like so many women, and I know this because I was one, are seeking permission to feel things, or to have things, or to become who they want to become. It's like you need the permission to go there, and you don't. Right. You don't need that. Start with that question.
I love that. Yeah, and that's a good one. And the whole feeling like we need permission, I just, you know what? I think it's better to do what's best for you, and then, I don't know, apologize instead of ask for permission. Or don't even apologize.
I feel like that's one I haven't figured out yet. I still apologize a lot.
Do you?
For things, like I'll be filming a workout and I'll accidentally, say a curse word or something. I'm like, oh my gosh, for all the kids out there, I'm so sorry. Well, you're gonna bleep that out. And I'm a human being. I make mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm not part of like the Beachbody community that does multiple takes of things. Like everything you see is real. It's raw. It's one cut. And
I love that.
The real thing. And so I'm human and I make mistakes still, and I learn from those mistakes, or at least I try to. So
yeah I know the whole I'm sorry is, I've been trying to say like excuse me, like if I'm at the grocery store or something, instead of being like I'm sorry, like what am I sorry for, just excuse me, or thank you. Like I know I do that all the time too. All right, so where can people find you?
So you can start with my main website, which is bikinibodymommy.com. And we have a brand new app available in Android.
I didn't know that.
iOS and Chromecast. It's workout with Bikini Body Mommy.
Okay.
And we're giving everybody a free 7-day trial to jump in. There's over 1,500 videos. And if you're looking for a place to start, if you're looking for a place to feel like it's okay to be who you are today, and not feel like you have to be perfect in order to just take that first step, I would definitely recommend heading over to the app.
That is awesome. I had no idea you started an app. That's so cool.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
We just released
Good
it
for you.
at the new year, and
it's
been a huge undertaking and a huge
I can imagine.
check mark for us.
I can imagine how much work went into that for sure. And then we will also put all of your information in the show notes. So if anybody wants to be able to find you everywhere else, we will have it there. So thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, we love you.
I absolutely. I mean, it's so funny living the parallels. And like I said, 2016 was my first introduction to you. And then to have my midwife going, oh my gosh, you've got to meet January. We got to get her. We got to do this meetup. And that was like last year, Lindsay Nealis was like, we got to do this meetup.
I love Lindsay.
That didn't happen.
I know.
And so when we came together just now to do this, I'm like, oh, this is just the unit coming back my way. This is awesome.
That. Oh, thank you so much. And I love Lindsay. And I just know that we'll end up doing something in the LA area at some point. I feel like all my people are in LA and Australia. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. But when I can do events again, I think I'll just do one in LA and one in Australia.
There we go. I'll go to both.
Oh, yeah. We'll go to Australia together. I have to fly to LA before I get to Australia anyways. So I'll just pick you up on the way.
Sounds fantastic.
All right, you guys.
Well, thank you so much for having me on.
You are so welcome. All right, you guys, we love you so much, and give yourself a little bit of extra love today, okay? Bye.